This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Time now is 4:27 on your Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Meredith Barrick.
And I'm Nicole Griffin. People all across central Indiana will be waking up to some storm damage this morning. And we are live this morning with team coverage in Madison County, specifically in the area of Pendleton this morning.
Yeah, they experienced some severe damage due to those storms late last night. We are still waiting for confirmation from the National Weather Service as to whether or not a tornado touched down. Our Rafael Sanchez has been there all throughout the night. Our Alyssa Donovan just arrived. So they're going to be talking to residents, first responders, and a lot of other people looking at that damage to see what exactly they have to deal with now. And we want to bring in the expert Todd Clausen to talk a little bit about what they experienced.
Yeah, so I saw a whole bunch of pictures, a whole lot of videos from yesterday, and you see a lot of funnel clouds. And I think they'll probably say that a tornado went through there, just based upon what I've seen now. Nothing's official until the Weather Service goes out there, but just based upon the damage and a lot of photos that we've seen and the warnings that persisted not only for one warning, but they kept extending them. So that's showing usually that the storm's pretty strong and that there's probably some pretty good rotation in there. So unfortunately, it was in the forecast. It was the enhanced risk, and unfortunately it played out here across parts of central Indiana yesterday. Now this morning it is much more quiet. You don't have to worry about any severe weather if you have to clean up in your yard or your neighborhoods. Today will be a decent day for that, with temperatures this morning that are in the 70s, still kind of muggy, but you see on radar that there's no rain out there, and we are expecting just maybe a few isolated small storm chances to the north here throughout the day today. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies and still very summer-like, with temperatures that'll be climbing into the mid-80s once again, but cooler temperatures will start to arrive as we go throughout the rest of the week.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of you throughout the show this morning. And finally, overnight, two people were shot, one person now fighting for their life after they were shot near New York and Randolph streets. One of those people was shot in the head. We're waiting to learn a little bit more, but there has been a string of violence lately. Also happening yesterday, a body was found in a suitcase. We are still waiting to learn the identity. A lot of people curious as to who this person is. We do know that it is not a child or infant. Many people are curious if this was related to the Amaya Robertson case. Police do confirm it was not a child or infant, but we don't know whether or not it is a man or a woman at that time. So we are waiting for the latest updates on that situation. We've got a lot more coming up here on Good Morning Indiana. News, weather, the latest from Pendleton, and of course traffic. We've got that right now to start your Tuesday morning.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
We saw the spinning and I turned around for like 3 seconds and the tree in our backyard actually fell.
Storms and possible tornadoes tear a path of damage across parts of central Indiana. This morning, team coverage from the hardest hit areas.
Plus, the Hoosier State not the only place hit hard by storms. Breaking overnight, we're getting a first look at catastrophic damage in nearby Ohio. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Nicole Griffin.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. Elena Martella keeping a close eye on the roads. But we do want to get to Todd Clausen first to talk a little bit about what happened here in central Indiana last night. I know here in Indianapolis we saw some heavy rainfall, but nothing compared to what they experienced in Madison County.
We talked about it yesterday. It was going to be a 1-2 punch, right? We had the isolated storms that went through with the warm front, and then we were going to inherit those big clusters of storms from off to the west, and that's exactly what happened. So you just mentioned the damage in Ohio. That's the same storm that went through Pendleton. It just maintained itself and went all the way across Indiana. Tornado warnings through Richmond and then eventually into the Dayton area as well. Now the good news this morning is everything is quiet across the area. Storm Team 6 radar, the only storms that we do have are just north of Fort Wayne, and they're drifting off into Ohio. So you do not have to worry about any storms as you walk out the door. With that said, there's a lot of damage here across central Indiana. So especially if you leave this morning before the sun comes up, just give yourself some extra time. You may encounter maybe a tree down, some big branches down across some of the roadways, especially north of Indianapolis. So be on the lookout for that, even though that there's not a whole lot going on weather-wise as of right now, with skies that are mainly clear across most of the area with a little more in the way of cloud cover to the north. But just like yesterday, there are a few more storms off to our west, and some of these will start to drift in here later on this afternoon. So our rain chances today are not zero, but they're a lot lower than they were yesterday. I'm not expecting much more than a stray storm or two up to the north here later on this afternoon. Temperatures in the 70s anywhere you go. I mentioned the mugginess out there. That will be an issue here throughout the day today. So it's a very summer-like day, 81 already by the noon hour, and then we'll build in just a few of those spotty storms later on this afternoon with a high temperature that climbs all the way into the mid-80s. The time now is 4:32. Let's get a first look at those roadways this morning. Here's Elena.
All right, thank you, Todd. So as you're taking to the roads, as Todd mentioned, you are going to want to slow down, leave earlier than you typically would in case there is any of that debris, those trees that might be in the roadway still. So up here near Pendleton, Anderson area, northbound and southbound I-69, those exit ramps to State Road 38 are closed because of storm damage. So to get around this, what you can do, southbound drivers, you're going to exit at State Road 109, head southbound, turn right to go westbound on US 36, and then left or right onto State Road 38, depending upon your destination. And northbound drivers exit onto southbound State Road 13, left onto northbound US 36. So you're going to head northbound on this area, and then left or right onto State Road 38. We'll let you know when it opens back up, but I just did speak with ISP, and they did confirm it is still closed. Let's take a look at the roads right now. This time we're looking up towards in the Indianapolis area. I-465 Michigan Road, pretty quiet up there. Let's take a turn down to the south side. I-465 at I-65, and you can see again all is moving along just fine, but can't stress enough, pay attention for any areas there might be ponding or fallen debris.
Elena, thank you. Storms including a possible tornado carving a path of damage across central Indiana.
One of the hardest hit areas in the Madison County town of Pendleton.
Our Rafael Sanchez has been in Pendleton all night long. He is leading our live team coverage this morning.
Good morning, Rafael. What are you seeing right now? What are you learning at this hour?
Meredith and Nicole, good morning. The damage is extensive to both homes and trees. In the aftermath, South Madison County schools are canceled today, and more than 10 people are waking up in a shelter at Pendleton Heights High School this morning because their homes were damaged. It is dark here. If not for the lights in our live truck, you would not be able to see me or anything around me. But let me take you just down this road. This is State Road 38. Past that yellow directional sign is the zone where you'll see most of the damage. Let me show you what I found just an hour ago. Most of the town of Pendleton is in the dark, as you can see. Here in the heart of town, they have a number of generators that have those big lights on as utility companies are able to begin the process of removing the trees and working on power lines. If you look down this street, you can see a number of crews already on the scene, removing trees and working on the restoration of power. This will take a number of days. In fact, emergency management tells us it could take up to 2 to 4 days to get Pendleton back all the way up with power. In the meantime, the good news for now, the weather is rather cool for a day here in May. In the meantime, while that goes on, of course, that will be the priority. Clearing all the trees to restore power to this community as soon as possible. You know, the great news here in Pendleton in Madison County, no injuries whatsoever. There was one gentleman who was treated for some head injuries related to the storm damage, but nothing mass casualty wise. Considering what happened here, first responders are very happy that people did heed the warning. Our live coverage continues with a member of our Storm Team 6 team. Alyssa Donovan is also here in Pendleton this morning. Alyssa, what are you seeing this morning from your vantage point?
So, Rafael, we just made it down the street a little bit further, about 2 blocks from where you are, and that's as far as we were able to get, and that's because we are not being able to go much further than that because of those down power lines. That's what the crews are asking of us. But I want to show you, there is a huge tree that we encountered. This is down just here at the corner of State Street and Adams Street, and you can't see much of it just because of how dark it is. Rafael mentioned that power outage. It is like walking through black. Very eerie here in Pendleton this morning, but we do know that the National Weather Service is sending a crew here to survey some of this damage and assess this tornado damage here in Pendleton, as well as other locations across central Indiana that were hit by this storm. Now, I want to mention that just coming into Pendleton this morning, we did encounter that closure. I believe Elena mentioned it earlier. I-69 here at Pendleton, that exit is closed, so just be aware of that as you're heading this direction. But of course, officials are asking if you do not need to be here in Pendleton today or this week, that you avoid the area so that they can get the storm damage cleaned up and get that power back on so that people can get back to their lives and get back to the safety that they once had here in Pendleton. I'll send it back to you, Rafael.
Alyssa, we are actually going to take things from here. We appreciate you. Be safe out there. A lot of people waking up without power this morning in Madison County because of those storms.
Yeah, and this morning our Paris Lubell is looking at the efforts to get the lights back on.
And good morning to you. This is some of the damage that we're seeing throughout Pendleton. This is along State Street here in downtown Pendleton. And you can see earlier with those storms that tree coming up out of the ground and taking out some of the power lines and utility lines here in the area. Now, crews have been working all night, going door to door to make sure everybody is okay and starting to recover from some of this damage. We've seen a number of drones in the air as well, looking at the damage from the air so the utility crews and the first responders are able to see just how bad it is. We've also seen utility crews out and about trying to make repairs to electricity as soon as they can, but the emergency management here in Madison County telling us they don't expect to have power restored completely, at least for a few days right now. We're going to continue giving you the updates throughout the morning, but for now from Pendleton, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Paris, thank you so much. We have put together multiple stories of the storm damage across central Indiana. Look for it right now on the IndyChannel.com and the RTV6 News app. Central Indiana, not the only place bearing the brunt of Monday's storms.
In nearby Dayton, Ohio, the National Weather Service says 2 suspected tornadoes hit the area just 30 minutes apart. The storms leaving behind so much damage, snow plows were called to help clear debris off area interstates. The storms also caused damage to a church with people seeking shelter inside. The father of a child inside the church says he's thankful everyone made it out safe.
You have to say it's an act of God that there were no injuries with the young people that were inside the church, even though the church received structural damage that can be replaced. But lives can't, and we just thank God that they were all safe.
The city of Salina, Ohio was also hit hard by storms. City officials say a possible tornado caused significant damages and injuries. 2 people shot on Indianapolis's east side. Breaking overnight, we're learning the condition of those victims.
Plus, a deadly virus is impacting thousands of dogs in the Hoosier State. Straight ahead this morning, how you can help prevent your pet from getting it. Todd.
And it's a quiet morning here across central Indiana. Thankfully, the storms from yesterday have departed, and we are just dealing with partly cloudy skies. But we'll have to keep an eye on these storms off to our west. They'll start to make their way in our direction as the day goes on. We'll talk about the storm chances for later on this afternoon. Coming up in the Storm Team 6 forecast. Time now is 4:39. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on RTV6.
Furniture and mattress store, Ashley Home Store.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. Time now is 4:42. Here's a look at I-465 at West 86th Street. You can see it's pretty empty out there on the roadway. Stay tuned. I'll point out a closure you're going to need to pay attention to coming up in the next few minutes.
Elena, thank you. Breaking overnight, 1 person is fighting for their life after a late night shooting. The shooting happened just after midnight near New York and Randolph Streets. That's on the city's east side. IMPD tells us 2 people were shot, including 1 person who was shot in the head. This morning, we're working to learn what led up to that gunfire.
The search is over for a man who had been reported missing on Lake Monroe. Crews found the body of 31-year-old William Snoddy. On Sunday, he was swimming behind a boat anchored near the Allens Creek State Recreation Area on Lake Monroe when he disappeared under the water. Conservation officers say he was not wearing a life jacket at the time. An autopsy is now pending.
The search continues this morning for a missing South Bend man. Conservation officers say they believe 23-year-old Jacob Sandy was heading to kayak on Lake Michigan at the Indiana Dunes State Park back on May 18th. Authorities believe they found Sandy's kayak 3 days later, but they still haven't found any signs of him. He was last seen driving a light blue Peachtree Cruiser with Michigan plates. If you have any information on his disappearance, please call conservation officers.
Indiana lawmakers have a lot on their plate before next year's General Assembly session. All of them are topics impacting you. In the coming months, lawmakers will look at prescription drug prices, crime sentences, and taxes on vaping liquids. Those are 3 of more than 40 items that state leaders have assigned to committees ahead of the next legislative session. Lawmakers couldn't reach an agreement this spring on a proposal to tax liquids used in electronic cigarettes.
Local animal shelters, rescue groups, and veterinary clinics are concerned about a deadly virus impacting dogs. Parvo is a highly contagious disease that spreads through infected fecal matter. It likes to spread in warm weather, so spring is prime time. Symptoms include being lethargic and not wanting to eat. The West Michigan Street Vet Clinic has seen about 80 cases so far this year.
They've got blood coming out of their mouth. They're defecating blood. I mean, it's horrific, and it is so sad because it's totally preventable, totally preventable.
The vaccine to prevent parvo only costs $10 at this clinic. They encourage all pet owners to get their animals vaccinated and treated at the first sign of symptoms, which greatly increases the chance of survival. Oh, those are some adorable puppies, Todd. I don't know how you're going to follow them up.
Well, with some bad news. Well, actually, it's good news. The storms have moved out, but I do want to highlight where we did have some of these storm reports from yesterday. And here are the 2 tornado reports so far that we had in and around the Pendleton area. And then as you worked your way into northern Indiana, Miami County, south of Peru, there was a tornado report. And then a few more as you worked your way into extreme northern Grant County, as you worked your way towards Marion, and then a few more up in Huntington County as well. And then you see a smattering of hail reports as well as wind damage. So the National Weather Service will go out from Indianapolis and investigate the ones down here in Madison County. Then northern Indiana will check out those ones up in Miami County. So as far as what's going on right now, it's completely quiet across the area. The storms are gone. Just give yourself some extra time this morning in case there's any debris out there. You noticed a little more in the way of cloud cover towards Lafayette. But here's the cluster of storms that prompted the tornadoes here in central Indiana, then in the Dayton area, and they've weakened since, but nonetheless, that complex of storms itself has made its way through West Virginia now, pushing towards Washington, D.C. And that's just been kind of the trend here over the past few days, with the clusters of storms starting off to our west, and then they move through at times. Yesterday's, the conditions were just kind of perfect with the warm front in the area to give us the tornado warnings compared to just some thunderstorm warnings. But the good news is the patterns changed a little bit with the front further to the north. So that's where the storm chances will be throughout the day today. So the Storm Prediction Center still has much of central Indiana under the marginal risk of severe weather. As far as the slight risk goes, you do notice it near the Fort Wayne area and then back off to our west across the state line. And the next update here will come within a couple hours from the Storm Prediction Center. But I'm not expecting any widespread severe weather throughout the day today. But there will be some storm chances as we enter the peak heating of the day, mainly again in northern locations, because you're a little closer to that front now. The front yesterday started in southern Indiana, now it's in northern Indiana. So that'll be the trigger mechanism for a few spotty downpours from Peru over to Kokomo and then shifting north of Muncie over towards Hartford City and Portland as we get into the afternoon hours. From Indianapolis to the south, probably mainly dry day for us with just very summer-like conditions and warm temperatures. 74 is the current reading right now. The winds are the southwest at 11 miles per hour. Everybody's in the 70s this morning. Keep in mind our normal high is 76 degrees. We're at 74 right now. 75 in Bloomington, and then the mile there is firmly in place across the area. So as we work our way throughout the day today, we'll be near 80 already by 11 a.m. Low 80s by the noon hour, 82 by 2 p.m. with partly cloudy skies, and then just the chance of those spotty storms again in northern locations with temperatures in the mid-80s. Tomorrow, we bring better chances of showers and storms into the forecast. Temperatures still right around 80 degrees. Tomorrow, we're probably not looking at any severe weather, but a better coverage and better potential of showers off and on throughout much of the morning hours on Wednesday before we get a little bit of a break in the afternoon. So it's not a washout on Wednesday, but there will be showers around for tomorrow, for Thursday as well. Then as we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, could Could be a stray storm or two over the weekend, but nothing widespread, and temperatures in the 70s. Elena?
All right, thank you, Todd. Here's a look at I-465 at West 86th Street. You can see everything's moving along just fine. This is that northwest side of Indianapolis. Right now, it looks like roads are dry as well. Let's take a look at the map. Those northbound and southbound ramps on I-69 to State Road 38, those are closed, and that's because of some storm damage. So if you're heading towards Pendleton or coming to the city from Pendleton, pay attention. Southbound drivers exit to head southbound on State Road 109, turn right to go westbound on US 36, and then left or right on State Road 38, depending upon your destination. Northbound drivers exit onto southbound State Road 13, turn left to go northbound on US 36, and then again left or right onto State Road 38. So keep that in mind if you are making your way towards that area or heading towards the city from the area. Let's take another look at the roads. Here's I-465 at I-465 down on the south side. Again, all's moving along. Just be sure to pay attention to any areas there might be debris in the roadways.
Elena, thank you. This morning, cleanup from possible tornadoes is underway in Indiana and Ohio. Other parts of the country are dealing with dangerous weather as well. In Arkansas and Oklahoma, residents are carefully watching water levels along the Arkansas River. Officials are hoping 70-year-old levees will hold. Residents have been warned to be ready to evacuate. In parts of the Deep South, a scorching heat wave is expected to continue through the middle of the week.
The search for a missing 5-year-old girl in Utah continues. Elizabeth Shelley vanished from her home early Saturday morning. She was last seen with her 21-year-old uncle, Alex Whipple. He is the main suspect in her disappearance and is in custody. Police say he is not cooperating with the investigation.
Everything he has done has been quite deceptive, and we have no reason to believe that anything he told us was accurate.
Elizabeth's parents say they continue to hope for her safe return. Meanwhile, Whipple is in the Cache County Jail on an unrelated warrant and drug-related charges. He is expected in court on Tuesday.
Measles cases across the country continue to grow. New numbers from the CDC show we've now seen 940 cases so far this year. That's 60 more cases than last week. We're seeing measles in more states too. Maine and New Mexico have reported their first measles patients. 26 states now have confirmed cases.
Ever dream of taking a submarine ride? Straight ahead, how Uber can help your desire to go underwater.
Plus, our team coverage of storm damage in the Hoosier State continues. Ahead at 5, our team is taking you to the hardest hit areas.
And here's a look at I-465 at West 86th Street. Everything's moving along just fine. Just pay attention for areas. There might be trees in the roadways, debris in the roadways. Use that extra caution. Time now 4:51. You're watching RTV6. Stay with us.
That's why the bananas look so good at Meijer.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. Time now 4:55. Here's a look at I-465 at Meridian Street on the north side. Also moving along just fine for your drive.
Elena, thank you. If taking a submarine ride is on your bucket list, Uber can now help you out. The rideshare giant is teaming up with the Australian officials to launch Scoober, which is described as the world's first rideshare submarine experience. Scoober won't take you to the airport, but you can visit the Great Barrier Reef via the Uber app. The tours run from May 27th to June 18th, but they are not cheap. It costs more than $2,000.
Plus the plane tickets to Australia
right.
and all that.
Wow.
Very cool, though. Employees at a Home Depot in Georgia are spreading a little love to a 2-year-old boy who needs some help getting around. Logan has hypotonia, a condition that impacts his muscle tone, which makes it difficult to walk. His parents weren't sure if they could afford a gait walker for their 2-year-old, so they went on YouTube and found a tutorial on how to make their own walker out of PVC pipe. They went to their local Home Depot for the pipe and supplies when employees told them to go out for ice cream and come back in an hour. When Logan and his family came back, the employees had made the walker themselves, even including Logan's name. What a cutie pie. Oh, love that.
Home Depot coming through again.
Right.
They're always helping folks.
They're helping everybody. The walker, and we had a story a few weeks ago. They built the handicap ramp for the veteran as well. So doing great things. All right, here's the good news. The storms are out of here. It's all quiet this morning, so no threat of severe weather this morning. There's the chance of a few isolated storms as we get into the afternoon hours in northern locations, but most of us should stay dry here throughout the day today with a high temperature of 85, so still very, very summer-like. Better storm chances Wednesday and Thursday before we finally start to quiet things down heading into Friday and the weekend. Those storm chances on Saturday are just very, very isolated with highs that'll be in the mid-70s. Time now is 4:57. Stay with us. We'll be right back here in just a few minutes.